Bum, 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 ba-da-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-dum, bum. Week 8. Spencer, it's week 8 already in the National
Crazy.
Football League. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching World of Matchups, NFL Handicapping Podcast, bringing the heat from Las Vegas, Nevada. I am your host, Dexter Reed. On the other side of the glass, my A1 from day one, producer extraordinaire and co-founder of WOM. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the legend, Spencer the Wiz. What's up, my guy?
I'm feeling a little under the weather, but it can't stop me from watching football. And the crazy thing about football is, like, especially because there's no lottery, like, all of these games actually really do matter. Like, you can literally watch any game and you're like, because at the beginning of the season, you think, well, there's not going to be a lot of QB needy teams, not compared to last year. And then as the season progresses, you're watching all these games and you see what happens with the Cleveland Browns. You're like, okay, well, that's a team that's going to need a quarterback. And you just keep going down the list. You're like, oh, well, the Titans are probably out of Will Levis now. And suddenly, all of these games have a very high level of importance. But that's the intrigue of the National Football League. And that's why, like, only having 18 games it's just the best sport in the world. And when you watch it, it's like it doesn't matter what game you're watching because it's all important. It's actually franchise altering when you think back to, like, the Texans game. It was like the Bears and the Texans or something at the end of the season. It was like that garbage touchdown throw. It changed the trajectory of the football league, like for like years, for like the next decade.
That was the Lovie Smith game.
Yeah. So it feels like that this year, like literally everything. Because I mean, we haven't even started talking about the draft yet, but man, there are some very intriguing players coming out this year. So
it's going to be a great year, man. It's going to be a great draft, and this is why this is the best sport in the world. Set it off.
Yeah, let's go over to a divisional matchup. It is the Baltimore Ravens going to Cleveland, and Cleveland obviously is going through some massive changes right now because Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles, and a lot of interesting things to say about that game. Obviously the crowd is essentially cheering for Deshaun Watson's demise. You know what I'll say about this, by the way, is I think it's less about maybe like who he is as a person. I know that's obviously a factor, but I think Cleveland fans were just maybe upset about how bad he stunk as their quarterback. Imagine if he had been playing really great. I don't think they would have been booing. So it's weird because you never want to hear your crowd cheer for an injury for your own team. But given the circumstances and everything that went on, I feel like it's so lame to be like, call out the fans. Like, how could they possibly boo? It's like, it's not inconceivable. The guy was terrible from the first snap, that he ever played for them, and he never was good. So here comes Jameis Winston, and I don't know if they're going to win this game, and it's obviously very improbable, but it's like a touchdown or something. It's like even more than a touchdown.
8.5.
I like the Browns in this game. They're at home. There's going to be extra juice. Jameis Winston is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson in 2024. I don't know what that really means because Jameis Winston is not the best, but he's going to be slinging the ball out there. I mean, this guy's a veteran. He's probably going to really get Jerry Jeudy involved. David Njoku is going to get involved. And, I know the Ravens are liquid hot right now, but when it comes to division rival, and I think the Browns have a little bit of extra juice, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility they can cover this 8 points.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said. I will start by saying that if you are the type of fan that roots for a player who gets injured, when you cheer that, when you celebrate that, you're a piece of garbage. You're a piece of garbage, and you don't deserve to be a fan of that team. I'm sorry, and I don't care what Deshaun Watson did. I don't care what he did off the field. You are trash if you're celebrating somebody writhing on the field in pain. Period. And you really need to look in the mirror. Now, I do like the 8.5 here. I think the Browns they're succumbing to the less is more. It's a fire sale. They get rid of Amari Cooper, who was checked out basically all season. So you're thinking about the future. You get him out of there. Here comes Cedric Tillman. Here comes Jerry Jeudy. Here comes David Njoku, who's going to benefit the most by having a guy like Jameis Winston at the helm. I really don't feel like they're losing much here. I think Jameis Winston might be the better quarterback. Deshaun Watson, the fall of Deshaun Watson needs to be studied. It really does. It needs to be studied. Now, we know what Jameis Winston is. He's going to sling the ball. He's 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. He is going to score you points, and he's going to lose you games. But I don't need them to win this game. I need them to cover 8.5. And in the black and blue division, where every game, every division opponent, every division game is a 3-point game, why wouldn't you take 8.5 points here? The Ravens looked as good as I've ever seen them look last week. It's unsustainable. It's not sustainable. I'm sorry. I think that it wouldn't even surprise you if the Browns won this game at 1-6. The dog pound is live. This is a division matchup. They're going to do everything they can to slow down this hype train. This is the same thing that happened last year to the Ravens too, man. They started to get hot, and they were a hype train, and everybody was like, this is the best team in the world. Lamar's the best player in the world. And then what happened? When will you guys learn? These regular season matchups matter, but they do not matter that much. I need to see Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens win a Super Bowl. But that will be what it takes for me to get on board. And until I see that, he can have all the MVPs he wants and all the stats that you can give him. He can do it all. But until I see that happen, I'm not going to be a believer. They look good versus Tampa. We were both wrong. It's fine. But in this spot, styles make fights, and I think the Browns aren't going to give up. And I think the fans might actually be galvanized because they feel like Deshaun Watson was a cancer, and the curse is gone. They're going to come to play. Browns plus 8.5 is the play.
Jump over to a less exciting matchup, and that is the Tennessee Titans at the Detroit Lions. Yeah, the Lions, of course, suffered just a horrible injury in Aiden Hutchinson, who it could be. I don't know. Did we talk about this in extension? But I don't remember because I talked about it on my other show. But there's a chance in my mind that Aiden never plays again.
No, he'll be back. Dude,
if
Nick Chubb could come back, Aiden Hutchinson can come back.
Have you seen a slow motion of the Aiden Hutchinson injury?
Yeah, it's nasty.
His leg wrapped around like a piece of rubber. But
yeah, in
any case, this Detroit Lions team, I don't know. Their season's not over. Obviously. Okay, they're going to make a very strong push for the playoffs here. And this week, I guess, doesn't really matter because they're playing such a terrible Tennessee Titans team. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for the Titans. It's a carousel of mid. The Lions at home, they're super galvanized. They'll probably have a very big win here. I think the spread is 11.5, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going to take it.
I got 11 here.
I'll take the Lions. They've obviously shown that they can blow out teams. But when we get to the later stages of the season for the Lions, I'm going to start going against him a little bit because we're going to have to see. I mean, they depended so much on him, and he was having a defensive player of the year type of year. But in terms of this game, they win a huge game against the Vikings last week on a last-second field goal. They'll be galvanized this week. But once they start playing those tougher teams, I think you're going to start seeing some weaknesses in their defense. So we'll have to see how that goes. But in this game, it's going to be insane. I mean, they were away. Aiden Hutchinson's going to be on the big screen. Like when they walk out, there's going to be some sort of message to the fans. They're going to go ballistic out there. And the Tennessee Titans are just going to hit and meat grinder, basically. And it's not even going to be a competition, in my opinion. Especially if Will Levis plays. You know what I mean? Like, if he plays, it's going to be worse. He's going to throw like 3 interceptions. And it looks like he's on the questionable side versus doubtful this week.
He's not going to play.
So that just makes whoever the case may be, they're not going to be able to do anything. They sold DeAndre Hopkins
for nothing.
Their season's over. They'll be drafting a quarterback next year, plain and simple. So they almost want to start losing these games more and more. And I don't even think they have to try. I mean, their team is just They should have never, ever, ever have fired Vrabel. I mean,
Ever.
just literally one of the worst offseason moves I can possibly think of, because the
Yep.
guy who they replaced him won't be there for another 2 years. So really, truly, what's the point?
Yep.
But that's on them, obviously. So yeah, give me the Detroit Lions here, the -11.
I like the Detroit Lions -11 as well. I think that this team is going to go to the NFC Championship game. I've been saying this for a while, and I'm going to stand on that 10 toes down. This is a team that stands on business, especially in their building, and they're hitting their stride. Yes, the loss of Aiden Hutchinson is humongous, but he will be back. This guy is going to play again. I mean, if Nick Chubb can play again, anybody can play again. So I'm not too concerned about that. The question is, when will they get him back? But they're at home. The Titans are an unmitigated disaster. The Will Levis experiment, to my dismay, has failed miserably. It's been horrible. And he is horrible. I'm just shocked how bad he is, because there were real flashes last year coming into this year of him being the quarterback to take the next step. When he's been healthy, he's been horrendous, and now he's hurt. Mason Rudolph galvanized as nobody. I know he's got an 8-5 starter record. He's horrible. And they've got no one left. D Hop is gone. Calvin Ridley is miserable. The only blue chip player they have is Tony Pollard. That's it. Tajay Spears is hurt. Offensive line is young. Defense is good, but I mean, they can only do so much. And I'm not even sure if LeJarry Sneed is going to suit up. I know with JMO being out, that is a huge home run hit missing for the Detroit Lions. But I just see them running the ball at Tennessee here constantly. I mean, just incessantly, just constantly just pounding the rock and setting up play action. Goff is in the MVP candidate, position right now. I love Goff. I've been telling you guys about Goff for years. You guys still don't want to listen. Think Goff is mid. Goff is a stud, dude. The way they use Goff, he's a stud. Goff could win a Super Bowl with this team, and I see them blowing Tennessee out in this game. I don't think this game is going to be particularly close. And now we're looking at what's our motivation for 2025 with Tennessee. Because, yes, I think they need a quarterback. And, guys, there's really good quarterbacks coming into I can't wait to do the World of Matchups draft show with you, Spencer, because there is so much talent coming in. And do we just really want to be an 8-8 team, or do we want to sell out, lose out? You know what I mean? Lose out and go try again. Tennessee's not that far away, but I think what you said about them firing Mike Vrabel is true. Now they're paying for it. Now they're paying for it. They know something about Mike Vrabel that we don't know, and they let him go. And it's proving to be the worst mistake that they could have possibly made, because that is a horrendous Tennessee Titan team. And you watch DeAndre Hopkins just have a rejuvenation of an amazing career now with Kansas City. They gave him away for nothing. They gave him away for a bag of footballs and a pepperoni pizza. Shameful. Like, have some pride, Tennessee. Seriously. I think they get murdered in this game. 31-13.
All right, let's jump over to game number 3. It is the Colts. They travel to the Texans. They travel to Houston. Yeah, man, Anthony Richardson's just not good. And I don't know how much longer the charade can go on. Now, they do get Jonathan Taylor back. So I feel like in a world you can say, like, Anthony Richardson is like the Batman and Robin with Jonathan Taylor, right? He's going to play in week 1 when they were both together. They had a very explosive offense. And for a young quarterback, fair enough, right? The more weapons you have, the better off you're going to be. And they do kind of play off of each other in a sense. And they're going to really need that. But, man, I need to see a good game out of Anthony Richardson, because every week it's like, I'll watch the Red Zone channel. You just don't see the Colts, like, not past midfield. It's like they can't do anything. And at the end of the game, they just try to, like, figure something out. Like, that's just like the general sentiment I get off of them. The Texans are, catching their stride a little bit. They've definitely improved from the early part of the season. So this game is almost a little bit difficult to call, for more than the fact that, also it's just a division game, and that makes things very difficult too. What's the line on this one? It's like a field goal, right?
The Texans are -5 at home.
That sounds about right. I'm going to say the return of Jonathan Taylor makes it a correct line. I'm going to take the Colts. I'm kind of taking them on a whim in a way. I'm going to say that the world is going to be on the Texans because it almost feels like it should be higher considering how bad the Colts have been playing. I'm going to say there's some division shenanigans here. And I'm going to go ahead and say that the Colts find a way to cover this spread. I don't think they're going to win it because I don't think they played well enough to win it. But like I said, I think Jonathan Taylor being back helps them find a way to cover this spread.
I could see it. I could definitely see it, but I can't. Boy, the Colts have been so disappointing this year. So bad. Anthony Richardson has been horrendous, man. I'm sorry. When he's been healthy, he's been bad, and then most of the time he's been injured. I can't take the Colts here in good faith. I like JT. I do. I don't think he moves the needle enough because let's say, for instance, Texans get up 10 points here. I mean, they're going to still have him on the field, but he's going to really be phased out. They're going to be forced to throw. And I'm sorry, Joe Flacco with Michael Pittman is way better than AR with Michael Pittman. All those pass catchers thrive when Joe Flacco should be the starter of this team. Guys, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck for just a second. The Colts have looked better when Joe Flacco has been quarterback. This is just a fact. So I think they go on the road here versus a very good defense and a team hitting their stride, just holding on to getting Nico Collins back. Diggs is good. This might be the Tank Dell game here. Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon's going to run right at that defense. I think they're going to murder this team too. I see a lot of bloodbaths this week. I do. I think that for all intents and purposes, AR-15 is still a rookie, man. Anthony Richardson is still a rookie. And so Texans have a lot to prove, man. Everyone is just like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, and then there's the Texans kind of just hanging out, wanting their respect. This is where they take it versus a really bad Colts team. Texans -5 is the play.
All right, let's jump over to the Packers. They travel to the Jaguars. Nothing about this game scares me because the Jaguars are truly just that bad. You know, they got to stay an extra week overseas, a very experienced international team, and they took advantage of a terrible, terrible New England team. So when I think about those things in connection with each other, I'm not afraid to take -4. It's such a short line. It's like almost like they know something that we don't. The Packers are so much of a better team. I'm not going to be scared because the Packers, they played a great game last week against the Texans and they won. So now suddenly they're going to go struggle. They can't win by more, they're going to win by more than a field goal in this game. I mean, this is a very galvanized Packers team. So there really isn't even much to say. The Jaguars just don't have it this year. Last week isn't going to change my mind about who this team is in general. Jordan Love is going to feast. He's going to have a great game. Plus, the Jaguars have to travel back from international after being there for 2 weeks. I mean, what do I know? This is my best bet. I'm just going to go ahead and say there's no way I feel more confident about a game at any point in this given week than this one right here. Something is so off about this line. It's nonsense almost. Give me the Packers -4, and I'm doing it with an extreme amount of confidence.
That's interesting. I'm taking the Jaguars at home plus the 4 points here for a number of different reasons. I think everybody is counting the Jaguars out a little bit too early. Yes, they've been bad this year. Or let me put it to you this way. Yes, they've lost a lot of games this year, but they haven't been bad this year. A lot of their guys have been injured. Etienne has been hurt. Evan Ingram has been out a better part of the season. He is a huge part of what they like to do. He is fully healthy, and he is back. To me, Tank Bigsby has looked every bit as good as Travis Etienne has looked at any point in his career. They are home finally after being on Mars for the last couple weeks. And this is a classic. This is what they like to call in handicapping football a classic trap game. Anytime you see these crooked numbers 4, 9, like 8.5, like something's wrong. Something's wrong, dude. And home dogs pay dividends in the NFL. The Packers are due for a regressive game, and I think this is where it happens. The Jaguars' defense is better than advertised, and they're going to do enough. I don't know if they win the game, but they're going to cover this number. It wouldn't shock me if they won this game. It really wouldn't shock me. I think Green Bay, while being good, is really not as good as people think they are. And I know Jordan Love has looked great. The pass catchers look great. Josh Jacobs has been okay. I'm going to take the Jags at home here, and I'm going to take them with a little bit of confidence. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but just something feels off about this. Why is it only a 4-point spread? Everyone I know and their mother is going to bet the Packers in a rout in this game. And I'm here to tell you, I think the Jaguars come to play. They got some hard hitting players. Josh Allen's still very good. Andre Cisco hits as hard as anybody in the National Football League. And let's be honest, Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson are useless. They're useless. So now we're looking at Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed, Josh Jacobs. You can slow them down enough to the tune of 4 points. Jags all day with these points. I don't think the Jags season is over yet by any stretch. They have a Super Bowl winning head coach, and they're not looking for a quarterback. That's the difference. They're looking for the quarterback that they just paid to be him. Well, if you are going to pay him that money, you expect him to be him, and this is the week to do it versus a very good team in your building coming off a W. I don't care where the W was. I don't care who the W was versus. Wins are hard to come by in the National Football League, and they are about to go on a run. Jags +4.
We will see. Let's jump over to the Cardinals-Dolphins game. This is a bit of a difficult one to call, but because the Cardinals are just so inconsistent. Like, you literally just don't know what's going to happen with the Cardinals on a week-to-week basis. But we were 100% correct on that Cardinals-Chargers game. All you have to do against the Chargers is score 17 to 20 points, and you're guaranteed a victory against them. It's kind of unbelievable how bad their offense is. But Tua is back in this game, and the Dolphins are at home. Those are kind of the only two things I think I really need to know about this game. And you know these guys are going to be just as fired up as humanly possible because, you know, they feel like they can get the ball again. I mean, over that stretch of games, they barely got first downs. Like, they could just, unless it was like some sort of highly designed trick play almost, like, you knew they weren't even going to score on any of these given drives. The line, I believe, is pretty short. Yeah, it's -4. If this was flipped around and they were in Arizona, I'd be like, I don't know. But you know this home crowd is going to be just clamoring to their seats, as pumped up as humanly possible. And Miami is just so good at home. Tua gets this little homecoming. I feel like they're going to be so galvanized in this competition. And Tyreek, I know, has a little bit of a foot injury, but he seems to be okay. I haven't heard any bad news about it where he's trending downwards. In fact, he went to reporters and was telling them to start him in fantasy this week. So, you know what? With all those things in factor here for me, I really like the Miami Dolphins at home -4.
This is my best bet. This is my best bet. You take Tua away from the Dolphins are trash. You put Tua on the Dolphins are a juggernaut. And they're home with the sun out versus a team coming off a win that they stole. That is nowhere near as good. I think they murder the Cardinals here. I really do. Those pass catchers are licking their chops to get back in here. Tyreek Hill goes absolutely berserk tomorrow. And I think they win this game going away with ease. I like the over in this game because the defenses for both of those teams really aren't great. I think there will be a decent amount of scoring in this game. But Miami is going to come to play here, man. It's all set up for them to score 30 points here. And I'm not sure if Arizona can score 20 points here. I mean, they struggled at home to beat a bad Charger team. I'm going to take the Fins up all day here, -4. I think they win this game by 7 to 10 points. This is my best bet, and I am not going to sweat this one much at all.
Okay, let's jump over to the Jets. They're traveling to New England. This is a terrible game. Hassan Reddick will be back, I guess, for the Jets. And Drake May looked pretty good. I mean, you and I both like Drake May.
I love Drake May. Drake May should have started the whole game. This Jacoby Brissett nonsense Drake May is your starter. You need to give Drake May the Peyton Manning treatment and just throw him to the wolves. Think about how much better Drake May would be right now if he had those 4 games that they let Brissett start. It's an absolute joke. Gerard Mayo's over his head. Get him out of there, dude.
I know you never really want to do that to your rookie quarterback. Having a first-time head coach, it's not a good pairing, but that's what they did. And Drake May didn't even look like he got thrown to the wolves necessarily. This kid had some really nice throws in that game, and he's only going to get better. I think they really found somebody, and they really have done a disservice. They're not a very well-run team in the past 3 years. They could have done so much more to set him up. Like Jalen Polk just like hasn't worked out, and everyone else is just a guy. Like no tight ends really to speak of necessarily. I don't know. The Jets still think they can make the playoffs at 2-5, and while it's not statistically possible, it's very difficult to do. But still, they are going to have that extra motivation in the back of their mind, saying like, "Look, if we can just win this game." Anything can happen. And I do think they get better than they were last week. And there are tons of opportunities for them to beat that Steelers team. My goodness. I mean, when I think it is -7.5, so you have to win by more than a touchdown. So that makes things very difficult. And it's like
I've got it at 7 here.
Okay, I got you.
But still,
if I'm on the leaning side of a push, I'd rather be on the Jets side just because they're so much more motivated to win this game. And like I said, Hassan Reddick could really have a pretty good game, and that could be the thing that tips us over from the 7 to not. So when I think about it like that, I feel fairly confident that, yeah, they will find a way to make this a 7-point win at least. But I could really see a push happening here. There's going to be a little bit of shenanigans too, because how often these teams play each other. I just think that Devontae Adams is going to get a little bit more hot. He had like almost like 7-8 targets last week, and only the handful of catches. I can only imagine how much better that's going to be this week after another week of practice, because he really didn't. I mean, he was there for like 2 practices before they played that game. It was a little bit of just muscle memory at that point for Devontae Adams out there. So now he has like an extra week to look at the playbook. I think it's going to be a lot better for them. Yeah, 9 targets. I just saw that little graphic there. So I think 9 targets is going to turn into like 7 catches this week, and maybe they'll start looking for him more in the red zone. I thought there were plenty of opportunities last week looking at him where they kind of like left him alone. And I feel like they're going to find creative ways maybe to get him the ball. I could see Devontae Adams touchdown happening this week. They take a 17 to like, 3 lead early on, and then they just kind of like wrestle until the end, and I think that could come out to like a touchdown win for the Jets.
I don't trust the Jets, and I'm done with them. They screwed me. They screwed. Dude, I was having a hot week, man. I was winning a lot of money, and I tried to roll it over on Sunday Night Football, and they just absolutely got their shit pushed in. Horrible. Yeah, I'm done with the Jets. I'm taking the Pats plus a 7. Division game. I mean, look, there's not much to say here, but I do think that Drake May will get better at week in and week out. Hassan Reddick doesn't do anything for me, simply because here's the deal with the Jets. I'm watching Aaron Rodgers. When I'm watching football, guys, my focus really, I'm watching the quarterback. I'm looking at the quarterback, looking at the offensive side of the ball for whatever team's on the field, and that's what I'm really focused on. Aaron Rodgers is washed, and he's not 100% healthy. Aaron Rodgers is one bad hit away from his season being over. That hamstring, you ever watch this guy get up off the turf? Aaron Rodgers is not 100%. I don't care what anyone says. And his accuracy is gone. He's throwing balls all over the place. Uncharacteristic picks. Now, I know he's old, and the Jets are really just looking for the Brett Favre 2.0 flash in the pan, which is what this is. I don't see it here. The Jets aren't covering and beating anyone really well. The only team they've beat so far is the Patriots in the Meadowlands. Now they're going to Foxborough. Give me the 7, man. I just don't trust anything the Jets are doing. I really don't. I just don't get it. I just feel like they're just putting a bunch of pieces together and they're expecting it to work. That's real. I mean, you think, okay, this week Devontae Adams is going to save you. Okay, now this week Hassan Reddick is going to save you. Like, dude, no one's coming to save you. You're 2-5 for a reason. That's who you are. Bill Belichick is not there for the Patriots, but like that doesn't mean that you're just gonna walk into Foxborough and murder this team. They've played you once already. The adjustments are gonna be made, and that was without Drake May, who I think is gonna be a big difference maker in this game. Drake May is a very good player, man. I can see Drake May being a top 5 quarterback one day. I really can. All they have to do is keep the game close. Patriots money line is really going to pay, and that wouldn't surprise me either because if Aaron Rodgers gets knocked out of this game, the game is over. The game is over. The Jets were better with Zach Wilson. Yeah, I said it. Patriots +7.
Okay, now we have the Falcons going to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. And I mean, what else can you really say about this game other than that Mike Evans and Godwin are not going to be playing? And you take the 2 best wide receivers off of any football team in the National Football League, and saw it happen to the Raiders. What are you going to do? And the Raiders have like some sort of security blanket at the tight end position that the Buccaneers just don't have either. So they're just in a really tough spot. And it's like almost, I mean, unfair is not the right word, obviously, because that's football. It's a gladiator sport and guys are going to get hurt. But it's only -2.5 for the Falcons. And the Falcons really need this win. You know what I mean? Like they cannot afford to lose a game against a very injured Buccaneers team. If they're any sort of serious about like making some, like even just making the playoffs, period, right? They're like floating around 4-3. You got to start winning some football games here if you're the Atlanta Falcons. And they did not play well last week. I mean, just horrible, actually. I mean, from top to bottom, it was a very bad game for them. And a game they really should have won. And they shouldn't have looked half as bad. So now, all things considered, who is Baker Mayfield going to throw to? I mean, it's going to be very, very ugly. I like the Falcons in this one, simply situationally. I mean, I'm pretty much a little higher in the Falcons. I think most people are in general. And I really was last week, and I got disappointed. But that's not going to like make me suddenly not be on them at all. There are teams that have bad weeks, and they had a bad week last week, and this is a big opportunity for them in an away game to get back on track. To win by a field goal, yeah, I think they can win this game by a field goal.
So do I. I like the Falcons a lot this week. A whole lot. I mean, Mike Evans is gone. Chris Godwin is gone. Those are your 2 best players on offense, and your defense got gashed last week. I have no problem taking the Falcons here to bounce back. Young Wei Koo field goal wins you money, guys. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, they're all going to have good games. Kirk Cousins just got to stay upright, and this should be a no problem victory for the Atlanta Falcons. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in trouble. Guys, there's only so much you can do. Cade Otton he's not good. He's just open, and he's a big dude. Okay, so they're going to really try to feature him. Rashad White underneath, Bucky Irving. They're going to try to control the line of scrimmage and keep the Falcons on the sideline and play a close to the vest, tight knit, low scoring affair. And the Falcons aren't going to let that happen, man. Because the Falcons are relatively healthy with a complement of guys who can score, and Bijan gets better and better every week. They use Algier. I mean, they've got weapons, man. This game should not be close. Baker Mayfield's going to get really baptized here because his security blankets, they're just gone, man. They're gone, and you just cannot win this way. I don't think their defense is good enough for them to win this way. Like, when you see what Kansas City's doing, like, they just can't score. But, like, they stay in games because you can't score on them. I don't think the Buccaneers have that kind of a defense where the household names just hold the other team at bay. And we all know the firepower that the Falcons have at their disposal at any given time. They could just toss it up. And they're doing it with a lot of nobodies, too, man. I mean, Drake London is a stud for sure, but like Kyle Pitts has been very mid this year. You know what I mean? And they have a whole bunch of other guys that just come out of nowhere and score game-winning touchdowns. For me, this should be an easy pick. I'll be absolutely shocked if the Buccaneers find a way to win this game. I'll be stunned. I really will be. Like, if you're Atlanta and you're seriously considering vying for a playoff berth and winning and going far in the playoffs in NFC, this is not a game you can lose. Falcons -2.5 is the play.
Now we have the best game of the early slate here. It is the Eagles. They are traveling to Cincinnati. And just like every Cincinnati season, it's a disaster to start the year. and then they start piecing it together. It's crazy, like how it's like the same team, no matter what year it is with Joe Burrow, and they're in the same spot again where they're now trying to get back to 500. They're actually favored in this game, minus 2.5. This is a tough game to call. The Eagles, I should really say Jalen Hurts, right? I feel like that's the word I should be saying here. Has been shaky. No doubt about it. Saquon has pushed this team to a 4-2 start to the season, plain and simple. I mean, he has literally, if they had even DeAndre Swift back there, they might be 500 or
Less
below
than.
500. Because in that Giants game, he didn't do much. I mean, Saquon literally carried that team on his back that entire day. Every time I watch that game, he's getting sacked or it's nothing, they can't get a drive going. And when I think this is really, I'm staying away from this game because I'm going to watch it because it's one of the best games of the day. I don't really know. I'm leaning Bengals, so I'm going to go ahead and take them minus 2.5. They are at home. They really need this game. Going 3-5 is a really tough position to be in. So I think they just have that little extra juice on their side. I think their offense is really starting to click a little bit for the Bengals too. And I think that if they start taking the lead, man, and Saquon can't run the ball as much, let's say it's like 20-13 or like maybe even like 2010, you're like, I don't know, man. You're just gonna keep running that clock, with Saquon getting those 5-yard, 6-yard runs, and they're gonna get a little nervous. But I could also see a world where the Eagles kind of impose their will. The Bengals are playing from behind. They have a stupid turnover and it kind of seals the game. So this is a bit of a toss-up for me. But I'm leaning towards the home team here, who was very desperate to get back to 500 versus an Eagles team that kind of just won by default last week because the Giants are so bad.
I like the Bengals here. This is a game I had circled on my top 10 games of the year. This is going to be a good one. I mean, this everything about this game is going to be pure entertainment because you got all the fantasy stars. You got teams in positions where they're just jockeying to get back in it or to keep moving forward. But the one thing I think is going to be the difference maker in this game is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow versus that Eagles secondary is the game because they're going to sell out to stop Saquon Barkley. And if they get a lead in this game, I think they could set the dogs on Jalen Hurts. I do. I think this happens every single year, and we kind of forget about it, where the Bengals are 1-11 over the last 3 years in September, and then all of a sudden they find their way into the playoffs. This is a game that I think they can win. This is a game that I think they're going to win, and a field goal wins you money. I mean, there's not much else to say. There's been dissension in Philadelphia. They don't like Nick Sirianni. I know that win last week bought him some time, but like you alluded to, that was basically Saquon saying, everybody get on my back and we'll make sure we don't blow this. That wasn't really a team victory. Jalen Hurts has not looked good to me this year. He's been okay, but I could see this being one of those games where like everyone's like the Eagles are going to beat up on the Bengals. Eagles are going to go in there and impose their will. Dude, I don't think so, man. They have guys emerging. Okay, you already know about what Jamar Chase can do at any given moment. T. Higgins wants to get paid. This is an audition for another team. This whole season is an audition for another team. He wants a long-term deal. The emergence of Chase Brown is a thing. It's a thing. Chase Brown is a very good running back. He's in there. He's good. And they have decent tight ends. And they have Joe Burrow, man. Again, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Texans. No one's talking about Cincinnati. Joe Burrow does not want to be left out of that conversation. This is going to be, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be an MVP performance for Joe Burrow because I don't trust that Eagles secondary. I haven't trusted that Eagles secondary since Brian Dawkins was there. Minus 2.5. Take the Bengals here, guys. Guys, listen, you cannot be scared. If you want to win money, you cannot be scared. Do not be scared to take the Bengals here. They're home. They're fighting for their lives. They are going to bring everything they have versus this Eagles team, who I feel is very overrated. I know tons of Eagle fans, and they're all just like, well, maybe, sure. There's no confidence to be spoken of. This is where they go in there and get carved up. Bengals minus 2.5. Take them with confidence.
Now we have a snooze fest, an absolute snooze fest. The New Orleans Saints travel to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. One of my favorite bets in this game is the under. It's like way too high. It's set at 41.5. I don't like to see the Chargers just score 20 points. I don't know if they can even do that. I don't know if they've even done that once this season, maybe one time, but yeah, this is a terrible game. The Chargers are touchdown favorites, and that makes no sense to me. Who are they beating by a touchdown in any
Nobody.
world?
Nobody.
I don't really care who the quarterback is for the Saints. I mean, yeah, I don't think it really matters necessarily. That Broncos team was super galvanized in that game, and the Saints just couldn't get it going. And I don't know what the status of Derek Carr is. I haven't checked. I know he's been like floating.
He's not playing. He's out. This is the Spencer Rattler show.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I don't think this game's going to be a barn burner for sure. Take the over on the punts if you can even do that. It's going to be a punt off, man. It's like an all-star game for punting. How many punts inside the 10 or something? Let's add that to the sports books. This is ugly, man. I don't even want to look at this. It's just an afternoon game, too. I bet you, if you have the Red Zone channel on, you'll probably catch the last field goal to win 3-0 or something like that because someone fumbled the ball. But yeah, I like the Saints here. I don't think they're going to be able to light up the scoreboard. I think the Saints defense is good enough to keep the Chargers to like 13. This is like a 13-10 game, and the only reason someone scores like special teams, you know what I mean? There's going to be a special teams touchdown on here to make the game more interesting, and that's about it. So yeah, I like the Saints.
I like the Saints too, man. The Chargers haven't beaten anybody by 7 in how long? I mean, they're a bad team. I don't get it. I don't like the Saints either because Spencer Rattler has just been handing the ball over to the other team with regularity, but they do get Chris Olave off the concussion protocol. He'll be back. Alvin Kamara just got an extension. He'll be fired up to play. They'll be galvanized. This is a 13-10 Charger win. I don't think the Saints can win this game, but I do think they can cover. Well, like Spencer said, guys, the best bet here is the under because these are two disgusting teams who are just heavily injured, who weren't good to begin with. They weren't good to begin with. And what are we playing for in LA? Third place in the AFC West? What are we playing for in Who Dat Nation? Third place? I mean, like, literally. What's the motivation here? They have their franchise quarterback, so they're not going to tank. The star players are, The best bet in this game is the under. I'm putting this on this under is going on a ticket.
It's on my best bet ticket. I'll show
this
it. This
might be the type of game where they don't even show it on the red zone.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you'll see the field goal to end the game. That's it.
I'm going to be at the game tomorrow. I'm going to pull my phone out and pull up the red zone just to see if they actually show. Because sometimes they don't show certain games on the red zone because there's just nothing going on. You know what I mean? I bet you that this is that game. There's just zero juice to this game. And when there's zero juice, I have to take the underdog plus the points. Because anything can happen with defense.
Yeah. You'll see this when every other game's on commercial. They'll be like, all right, well, I guess this is the only live game.
Let's go see J.K. Dobbins run 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Saints +7 is the play. Next.
Yeah. A very interesting game here. This is going to tell a lot about both of these teams. It's the Bills. They travel to Seattle. I just don't know what to think of Seattle any given week. I mean, their record shows it. They're 4-3. Sometimes they just put up stinkers, man, and it sucks to watch them play like that. So I don't know what to get out of them. This is the hardest game to call in the week for me, even more so than that Bengals-Eagles game. I don't even know which way I'm leaning, to be honest with you. I saw this on the slate, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And now I'm looking at it again. I still feel that way. It feels like every time I want to go against Seattle is when they have their best weeks. The over, I think, is the greatest winner of this game. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. Seattle's at home. And I feel like I'm getting a field goal out of it. I'm going to take them. We're going to get blown out every time I start to have a little confidence in Seattle. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say Seattle's at home. Home dogs pay dividends, and I feel like you're going to get that here. Kenneth Walker is having just one heck of a season. I mean, kind of unbelievable. He was sick last week, and he still had a killer week. He's another week better. Obviously, the Seattle Seahawks have weapons for days, and I don't know how much depth the Buffalo Bills have defensively. I'm going to go ahead and say that they're going to at least cover that. They could win this game. And if I get a field goal, I also like that. So I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks, not with any level of confidence, but at the same time, I like to have a home team that's an underdog, especially at the quality of the Seattle Seahawks team.
I want to take the Seahawks, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it. DK Metcalf is out. If DK Metcalf was playing, I would take Seattle here because I have really not a whole lot of faith in what's going to happen when Tyler Lockett catches the ball. And JSN really has benefited on his growth because he's had DK Metcalf on the other side of the field. Noah Fant does nothing for me. The tight ends really don't do it for me, which means you're going to depend on their ground game to really win you this game. And the Bills will sell out to stop the run. And Geno Smith is not nearly as good as Josh Allen. I mean, to me, that's what it boils down to. Josh Allen has weapons who he hasn't even used yet. I mean, they're going to get better each week. The Bills are going to be better team every week. Every week. And when they lose, you're going to have to really bring your A game to beat them. And your stars are all going to have to be healthy. And that's not the case here. 12th man's been better. They've been better, but like the loss of DK Metcalf is huge. And see, the identity of the Seattle Seahawks here under Ryan Grubb's air raid offense is to throw the ball. So you're going to have to throw to beat the Bills here. And I think they're going to hold you down. I really do. I think this is a Josh Allen game where he has to just take it on the road. And you know he can do it. As long as Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over, the Bills are going to be very hard to beat. And I don't think he's turned the ball over yet this year. This is the version of Josh Allen that you're getting now, guys. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's very, very hard to beat if he's not doing that because that's his weakness. Now, as long as they protect him well, I see them as being a resounding favorite in this game and winning this game going away. But I feel like that's how important DK Metcalf has been to what Seattle's trying to do. Geno Smith is good, but I mean, the Bills' D does have holes. This is going to be a very entertaining game. I would probably take the over in this game as well. There's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, but something tells me that the Bills are really the Bills are going to go. They're going for this, man. Every year, the Bills are going to go for it until Josh Allen can't play anymore. This is their window. They're going to sell out every week to try to win, and I don't think that Seattle is that good yet. I just don't. I know the 12th man's a tough place to play, but Josh Allen has been in some of the loudest, most ruckus stadiums there are in the NFL. I mean, this guy plays the Chiefs every year. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. He's no stranger to this kind of dissension, and I think they win the game going away.
Let's transition over to what should have been a great game. Well, I guess we don't really know for sure, obviously, but it's the Bears. They travel to Washington. It should be the matchup of 1 versus 2, but I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to play this week. It doesn't seem like he is either from the reports. He's like not practicing. He's very questionable. And maybe even if he sneaks a practice in there, I don't know. This doesn't feel like the game to like trot the guy out. Yeah, the Commanders surprisingly 5-2 at this point in the season. I have to take the Bears. I mean, the Bears are favored by a field goal. If Marcus Mariota's out there, and I know he was like had a pretty good game against the Carolina Panthers, but everybody does at this point, you know, especially as a veteran. It's kind of just the game plan's essentially laid out for you. And if you do have a backup coming in, I feel like Marcus Mariota is a good one to have. He does fit their system, so to speak. He may not be as mobile as he was when he was a rookie, but you know, the kind of this a little bit of a run and gun type of offense is what suits him best. It has since Oregon. So I do feel like there's a decent fit there, but the Bears defense is really, really good. It's the only real reason they're 4-2 at this point in the season. And yes, Caleb Williams has gotten better and better every week, but they're not playing a trash team. They're not playing the Jaguars this week. I know it's like home dogs do pay dividends, but I don't think Marcus Mariota lights up the world and gets this team going down the field constantly. The Chicago Bears defense is for real. So when I think about that, I like the Bears in this away game, even though it's a tough call to make. And yeah, Jaden Daniels was playing. I think I'd feel a little bit different about it. But considering the situation, I think the Bears can win this game by a field goal. And maybe even you'll see a push.
Bears defense is going to win this game for the Bears. Bears -3 is the play. Even if they trot Jaden Daniels out there, I don't think it matters. I think that it's a mistake to put him out there unless you're going to really give him the Kirk Cousins flak jacket, protect my ribs treatment, which, they might. I mean, he's a GTD. He's a true GTD. And so they put him out there. They're going to have to run to win the game because they're not going to throw on Jalen Johnson. I don't know, man. I feel like this is going to be a low-scoring affair. I feel like Caleb and company will do just enough to win, but this game to me has Bears D written all over it. One mistake, and the Bears D is going to capitalize on this game, and it's going to win you the game. That's really what it boils down to here. I'm not saying Washington is bad. They're 5-2 for a reason, but to me, this is kind of like the matchup of the paper Tigers. These are the paper champs. Okay, no one in their right mind believes that Washington is this good. Nobody. And nobody in their right mind believes that the Bears are this good. Because they're not. The Bears have a good defense, and they are the product of a baby butt ass schedule. That's why they look great. You put these teams up against the top upper echelon teams in the National Football League, and you're going to see who they really are. Doesn't mean they suck. You are who you say you are, and your record is 5-2. Then that's who you are. But I see this as being a low-scoring affair where the ball is run a lot. If they're smart, they would hold Jaden Daniels out because I don't think they would win this game with him at all. No reason to get your star quarterback hurt more, but they're going to put him out there, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And then one hit later, he could be out for the season with broken ribs. Doesn't make sense to me. Hold the kid out. Bears are the play, simply off their defense. Take the 3, and I'm going to take them with basically a lot of confidence here.
Another big-time stinker in the afternoon. It's the Carolina Panthers. They travel to Denver. The Panthers season's over. They're ready to draft the quarterback, obviously. They'll be taking probably Cam Ward first overall if the season continues this way. The Broncos aren't good, but they just keep getting these very favorable matchups in this little beginning slate of the season. It's a pretty -11. That's a big line. It's so true. You know what? I'm going to take the Panthers. I don't think the Broncos offense is going to be able to score that many points. I know they had a pretty good game against the Saints, but I don't know. That game was terrible. That was a really awful game. And I don't think Andy Dalton's going to turn the ball over nearly as much as Spencer Rattler did in that game. If they just keep punting the ball, kicking field goals here and there, 11's a lot for a Denver Broncos team that is very anemic offensively, like way too much in my opinion. This is the kind of game where like Bo Nix throws a bad pick and they don't cover the 11 points. You know what I mean? Like he's been bailed out many times, Bo Nix, off of like dropped interceptions. And it's not going to continue like that for the rest of the season. He's going to get caught one of these times. And this is the kind of game where I think that happens. The Broncos are not 11 points better than like any team. I think for the rest of the season, nothing about them excites me.
I'm going to take the Broncos minus the 11 for a number of different reasons. Andy Dalton was in a car accident earlier this week. He's been ruled out. Deontay Johnson has I think a quad or a hamstring injury. He also has been ruled out. In comes Bryce Young with no body. Adam Thielen has been ruled out, OUT. Basically, he is going out there with a practice squad team to Mile High Stadium, where it is already very difficult to play after basically having no reps and being benched to try to revive your career against a bunch of crazy animal defense players. They're going to get absolutely destroyed in this game. This is going to be a bloodbath because Bryce Young is horrible. One, the only person he's got to throw to are two rookies in Jatavian Sanders and Xavier Legette. You're going to have to rely on the run just to stay in this game, which they've been okay at, but is Chuba Hubbard versus the Denver defense the match you want to have to hold your head on? 11 points is absolutely ridiculous. It is. I don't think I've ever covered a Denver spread minus 11 anywhere since Terrell Davis was on the team. But I'm going to do it, and it's going to work this week. Simply because the Denver defense is going to absolutely harass and suffocate Bryce Young to death. Bryce Young literally is going to want off the field. There's going to be a point here where Bryce Young he's going to want off the field. He's going to want off the field because they're just going to blitz. They're just going to go after him. And he's got nothing. He's got no one to throw to. He's got nothing. Nothing. The only way they cover this spread is on a punt return, kick return, defensive score, pick six, scoop and score. Like, that is the only way. Otherwise, they are going to get destroyed at Mile High. It's a guarantee. They are the worst team in the league. They should be tanking for a quarterback. Get Bryce Young and Andy Dalton out of there next year, and we'll start over again with Jonathan Brooks, Xavier Legette, and we'll see what happens. Deontay Johnson, they should just trade him too. Get all the picks you can, Carolina. Tank City. Broncos minus 11 with confidence.
A terrible, terrible afternoon game again. The Kansas City Chiefs, they travel to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. I don't know what to say about this Raiders team. It's terrible to watch because I'm looking at one of the best Raiders defenses I've seen in my lifetime. Despite all the injuries, they really do have a bunch of playmakers on defense. Jacorian Bennett is emerging as a legitimate cornerback. I mean, he has been one of the best cornerbacks in the league, plain and simple. So the secondary looks pretty good, and I like Isaiah Palamao. He has really stepped in. Marcus Epps will not be on the team next year. He was out for the season this year pretty early on, so he's had to step up, and I really like him. The linebacker room is much improved. They still need another linebacker. And the defensive line is terrible because Christian Wilkins is out. Malcolm Kuntz is out. And they've still kind of played okay. You know, obviously Tyree Wilson is a big-time bust. I just didn't like him when they drafted him. Thought there were so many other players that could have taken that position. But when I look at the team going forward, they had a great draft this year, obviously. Brock Bowers, really, really good. He literally has been the best tight end in the league, and he's a rookie. Jacoby Myers has been out. So the Raiders have been dealing with some horrendous injuries this year, and I think that's one of the storylines that goes a little under the radar for the team. It's not like they're at full power and they're just falling flat on their faces. When the Raiders kick a field goal, when it's 4th and goal at the 9-yard line, it almost tells me that Antonio Pierce knows his job is secure next year. And there's almost some level of agreement like, hey, this season's a bit of a wash. I'm not going to fire you. Now, I think they should. But let's go get the quarterback that you want. And let's try this again next year when we're fully healthy. I mean, that's just kind of the thing I'm getting from this team, because the reality situation is Gardner Minshew has been the worst quarterback the Raiders have had since Matt McGloin. And I don't think it's necessarily a hit on Tom Telesco, because he looked not horrible last year, Gardner Minshew. He had some good games for the Colts. I've never seen when I'm looking at it and I just can't believe it. Most of Raider Nation, or at least the beat writers, are like, oh, we have the worst offensive coordinator in the league, Luke Getsy. I kind of disagree. I like some of the things that he's done with the team. I think the play calling has been creative overall from what I'm looking at. Now, sometimes he'll do the whole run, for 2 yards, 3rd and 8, and nothing happens. But I've also seen Gardner Minshew throw some of the worst footballs I've ever seen. I mean, that play design they had, thinking back to the pick six on the goal line, that was wide open. And the Raiders go up 17-3 against the Broncos. And he put those players in position to make that play. Gardner Minshew has he single-handedly lost them the game last week by himself. Literally no one else on the team can be blamed for that loss other than Gardner Minshew. The horrible, behind the guy to the running back should have been a first down. That's a pick. Throwing off your back foot constantly. That's another pick. They signed Desmond Ridder, and I feel like the moment Gardner Minshew throws his first pick in the first quarter, he's going to throw him in. It's at home, and obviously nothing matters for the rest of the season. I think the Raiders are going to start really losing some games here. They already are, and I think it's going to continue. Home field advantage means nothing for the Raiders. I mean, it doesn't even feel like a Raiders home stadium anymore, and that's really sad. They've been priced out. I mean, I feel like when you look at the fan base, generally speaking, for the Raiders, it isn't the higher up echelon. It's not the Los Angeles, they have a hard time getting home crowds too. Raiders fans can't get into the stadium because they're priced at $300. There needs to be a section that is dedicated just to Raiders fans from like Oakland. And I feel like Mark has done a terrible job at doing that. Truly, I made a long tweet about this thinking like, nothing about that stadium feels like it's Raiders. You have to look at the torch and be like, okay, yeah, that's the Raiders stadium. There is no black hole section. I mean, I think they call it that, but there's nothing about it where you just feel like it's posh, man. Everything about the Raiders is posh now, and it's totally goes against everything I think the Raiders organization stands for. And I think they need to really completely rethink the way that they're like putting fans into the stadium, because even in the Las Vegas people, they only go there because the team's in town now, or had they been Raiders fans their whole lives, doesn't feel like it. They bring in their own, jerseys and stuff. So obviously it's like probably the worst home field advantage in the National Football League. I'll go ahead and say that, other than maybe like Jacksonville, but at least like people from Jacksonville have been going for years. It's a different crowd every time you go to a Raiders game, and it's just fun for people to go there. That's all it is. They've done nothing to try to get, Raider Nation represented in their own stadium. And that's why it's embarrassing for them to go into it every week. And they're at a disadvantage too, I know, because it's Las Vegas and everybody wants to circle. Everyone wants to come to Las Vegas, period. So when your team's in town, that's 10 times the motivation. You go to the game, you spend the weekend there, and then you go to the game on Sunday. But I think Mark Davis should care a lot more about the fans than he does. He doesn't. I don't think it's at the top of his priority. I think it's about money. The Raiders are going to get blown out of the waters here. Obviously, you don't have a quarterback, and you have a quarterback that's playing the worst ball of his career. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter who you're playing. We've already seen that this year. The Raiders have no chance in this game to keep it close. 9.5 doesn't scare me. The Raiders are trash. Their defense is great, but they have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Plain and simple. That's the end of my rant. That's the end of my rant.
I've been going to this game since Allegiant Stadium was built. I've been to this Chiefs-Raiders matchup every single year except the year they didn't have fans, the COVID year. So every year I go. And a lot of what you're saying is true, Spencer. I mean, we live here, and you're a Raider fan. Every time the Chiefs have played them here, they've blown them out. Every single time. Every single time I've gone, it's been double-digit resounding wins. Raiders might stay in it for a minute or get an early lead. Last year they got a 14-0 lead, but, by the end of the game, I mean, Raider fans are not in the building. By the end of the third quarter, they're already leaving to go back to the Strip. So that's number one. So the 9.5 shouldn't scare anybody. I know the Chiefs have been struggling to score guys, but the Chiefs have the number one defense in the league. To me, this is not debatable. Go argue with a wall. They're the best defense in the league, playing a quarterback who's thrown 5 picks in the last 2 games. The turnover differential in Vegas is minus 13. The Chiefs not much better at minus 3, but minus 13 is a lot. They have no quarterback to speak of. The running room has been a mess. Devontae Adams is gone. The only bright spot on the Raiders, to me, is Brock Bowers and Max Crosby. You could say what you want about an emerging defense getting better, yada, yada, yada. But every week, what I see is the same old Raiders. Double Max Crosby here, and this should be a resounding Chiefs W. Throw in the fact that all you guys have done is talk shit for the last 12 months, the last calendar year. All you've done is talk about we've got the script to beat the Chiefs. Out comes the Kermit the Frog Muppet puppet at during preseason. Like, dude, the Chiefs are gonna put it on you guys here, and you deserve everything. You deserve every. And let me tell you something. I hope Andy Reid runs it up. The Raider fans need to understand that, like, you're talking like this. It's like the Bengals. It's just undisciplined. I don't care. I don't care if that's the moxie that the coach keeps you. He's gonna be gone soon too. This guy's over his head, and I like him, but he's not an X's and O's guy. In order to beat Andy Reid, you have to be an X's and O's guy. All right. Yeah. In order to beat Bo Nix, you have to be an X's and O's. I mean, come on. Let's be honest with what's happening here. The Raiders being in Las Vegas is nothing but a money grab. I paid $500 for 2 tickets in section 342 for tomorrow's game. 500. That is absolutely disgusting. But I'm going to go support my team because I'm living in the golden era. I'm willing to pay for it. Raider fans, I wouldn't pay that money to see my team. You'd have to pay me to go see the Raiders right now if I was a Raider fan. And it's sad. It's sad because for those of you guys who haven't been to Allegiant Stadium, it's absolutely beautiful. It is an absolutely amazing place to watch a football game. But I have no love lost for the Raiders, and so I'm going to go down to 8 pregame tomorrow morning, and then I'm going to go to Flankers pregame, and then I'm going to go to the stadium and watch you get your asses handed to you. Then I'm going to go back to Flankers for the pregame, and I'm going to love every second of this because if you would just shut up, play disciplined football, you might not be in the position you're in. And so now we're going to take it out on you. If I'm the Raiders, I want to lose every game. Shedeur Sanders, man, there's so many good quarterbacks coming in, man. Get yourself a franchise quarterback, and maybe this will actually be a rivalry one day. Chiefs minus 9.5 is the play, and the defense is going to score tomorrow. Write it down. Next.
Let's go into the last 2 games of the week. It is the Cowboys going up against the 49ers. And if I'm not mistaken, CMC is back for this game. I've heard word.
Not yet. He's not back.
He's getting close.
He's getting close.
A lot closer. But this is a terrible game.
Horrible.
It's actually not a good game. Maybe before the season started, it's like a marquee matchup or something. But now it is totally not. I think this line is pretty short. -5 for the 49ers. Wow. This is only the Sunday night game because of Jerry Jones, obviously. The Cowboys don't deserve to be on a marquee game at any point in the season. These are 2 very desperate teams, but I really don't like anything the Cowboys are doing. The 49ers are the same way. You give in to Brandon Ayuk. He doesn't practice. So of course, his legs are just not warm. And that's it. Boom. The season's over. You let this whole thing drag on. Should have just traded Brandon Ayuk. Let's be honest. I mean,
thank you.
First of all, he was never a top 10 wide receiver ever at any point in his career. Has he ever been a top 10 wide receiver? And you pay him top wide receiver money that he can never possibly live up to ever. Deebo Samuel was always better. Deebo Samuel might play in this game. I don't know. The Cowboys defense is so trash. I'm going to take the 49ers because they're at home. And it's not because I like the 49ers. It's because I dislike the Dallas Cowboys that much. And they're just, it's going to go downhill. And Mike McCarthy's going to get fired. Jerry Jones doesn't have the guts to do it in the middle of the season because that's just not the kind of guy he is. He hates to admit that he's wrong. He shouldn't have kept Mike McCarthy around as long as he has. They should have just given Kellen Moore the head coaching job and just gone with it. You know what I mean? He should do it right now. He should do it right now. He should promote him to head coach and keep him there. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to be watching it because it's football and it's Sunday night, but this is going to be a horrible game. This is going to be like a 23-20. I don't know. I guess I should, if I think that, it should be the Cowboys, but nothing about the Cowboys exudes confidence in me. I feel like they're going to have a bad turnover in this game. They can't stop anybody. So I think the 49ers are going to run all over them. And this little carousel of running backs the 49ers have will basically just be enough to win this game for
Yeah.
by a touchdown.
I'm taking the Cowboys plus a 5 for a lot of different reasons. I have a lot of recency bias with the Niners because I just watched them fully give everything they have to trying to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got absolutely destroyed in their own building. I mean, boy, you want to talk about a team that has zero heart. It's the San Francisco 49ers, man. This team has no heart at all. They're 3-4. They're back-to-back home losses. Arizona and Kansas City destroy you when both those teams can hardly score. Here's the deal, man. Your biggest mistake is literally paying Brandon Ayuk $30 million. And then you double down and you pay an aging 36-year-old left tackle top tier money. So now all your money is gone. There's been a black cloud over San Francisco since this happened. Okay, then Ricky Pearsall gets shot. Okay, then CMC's in Germany. I mean, they knew about CMC. I think CMC got hurt in the Super Bowl, personally. Okay, then what happens? Now Debo's got pneumonia. George Kittle's banged up. George Kittle's a soldier. He'll play, but let's not act like he's a picture of perfect health because he's not. Juwan Jennings is out. Kyle Shanahan is scrambling for answers. Guys, Brock Purdy has been bad. Let's not act like Brock Purdy has not been bad. Since the Ravens picked him off 4 times, do you know what his record is, guys? It's like 3-7. He's been bad. Bad. And they're going to pay him. You're paying all these guys that are basically on the last dance. I mean, I know Purdy's young, but like all these guys, it's the last dance and you're giving them contracts. You're going to be bad here soon. Really bad. And I think it starts this week. I could see the Cowboys winning this game. And you guys holding out hope that CMC is going to come back and save you. Guys, it's over. Achilles tendonitis in both limbs. I don't care if he comes back. You're done. You cannot stop anybody. And what really gets me about the Niners, too, is that the coaching has not been good. You fire Steve Wilkes. He's your fall guy, and all the Niner fans, he was never one of us. He deserved to go. But look what it's worse now. Guys, it's worse now. So you can't even use him as an excuse. And I watch every Chief game in the history of Kansas City football since I've been alive. And you know that, like, I watched McCole Hardman score 3 touchdowns against this team a couple years ago. And what does Andy Reid do? He's like, you know what, McCole? We're going to run it again. And it worked again. And if I can see this, what is the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinators looking at? You know that Andy Reid is going to try to run this. And he does. And so for a lot of these reasons, man, they're falling apart. I can't take them. I know they're home. I don't think it matters. Teams go into that building and win all the time. Dallas Cowboys +5 is the play.
Now on to an absolute stink fest on Monday Night Football. My goodness. Who's going to be? I'll be tuning in just because it's what I'll watch after work. But the Giants go to Pittsburgh. Boy. I don't know what the line is in this game. I don't think it even.
Pittsburgh -6.
That almost seems like a trap. I mean, what? How are the Giants going to be in this game at all? Daniel Jones, too good for 2 interceptions in this game. Russell Wilson looked okay. He looked pretty competent, in that offense. And obviously, they never were committed to Justin Fields. You could see they just did so much more offensively with Russell Wilson. I mean, he really was just holding down the fort. There isn't even. I mean, the Giants are terrible. What can you say about the Giants other than that? They are literally just one of the worst teams in the league. They'll be drafting a quarterback next year. They're probably sad they won 2 games already.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to do anything in this game. The Steelers are going to walk all over them. They're in Pittsburgh. I don't even think it matters if they were in New York. I would still take
Pittsburgh
the Steelers
-6.
This is the play. I'm not betting on the Giants for the rest of the season because they've shown nothing at all at any point. Their defense is okay, but that's not going to be enough because they're going to constantly be on the field, and at some point they're going to get exhausted, and the Steelers are just going to score a touchdown here, a field goal, field goal, field goal. Suddenly it's 13-0, and the Giants are like trying their best to get past the 50-yard line. That's what
Yeah,
this game is going to look like.
pretty much. I mean, Malik Neighbors literally has to be Jerry Rice in this game for them to cover this 6, and I don't see it happening. If the Giants were smart, they'd lose out, eat Daniel Jones money, and go out and get a quarterback. Can you imagine like Drake May on the Giants? You got a bright future. Michael Penix Jr. as your franchise quarterback. You got a brighter future. But Daniel Jones is just horrible. I mean, the guy absolutely stinks. And he doesn't run anymore, which is what made him who he really was. And I've never seen a professional athlete with a nickname not earn his nickname as much as Daniel Jones. Get them out of here. The Giants stink. Pittsburgh -6 all day, every day, and twice on Sunday and Monday. That's the show, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the slate.
Let's
I'm
hear
just
the
going to quickly
Wizards'
show my
best bet.
best
Yeah.
bet. I mean, you don't like this game, but I love it. And I bought an extra point on my ticket this week just so I can get some better numbers. I like the Green Bay Packers +3 against the Jags. I would genuinely be shocked if the Jaguars put up a great game. The Detroit Lions -4.5. I really like the extra point that I bought. 5 is a pretty good number for a team that I feel like is guaranteed to win by more than a field goal. And then we talked about this one a lot too. Under 48 in the Saints Chargers game. There's no way this game is going to be like 25-25.
No way.
I don't see a world where that. I would be so sick to my stomach if that's the reason I lost this ticket. If the Saints Chargers was like a big game where both teams are scoring points, it just doesn't feel possible.
That's my favorite bet. That's my favorite bet this weekend is that under. How is that under 48? My God. World of Matches brings the heat every week, you guys. Week number 8. We are really firing through this season. We're halfway there, guys. Hopefully you're doing the right thing by your wallets and making some money, but not being stupid at the same time. Spencer and I will be back next Saturday. We appreciate the subs, likes, subscribe. Share the info with the world. We don't profess to be professional handicappers, but we're pretty good at what we do. At least on the 50% clip is what we try to hit for. Last week we both had our best week. Let's see if we can keep it going. Spencer, till next week, man. Enjoy the games.
All
I'm
right.
out.
See you guys.
Peace, guys.